Hello, my name is Lizzy Palmer and this is another episode of Lunar Poetry Shorts. Today I'm in my house and I'm joined by the poet Amir Darwish. Hello Amir.
Hello Lizzy.
How are you?
I'm fine, not bad.
Good. Nice to see you. So as we always do with these short podcasts, we will start with a poem, please.
Sure. Stand up and walk. Breathe in and hold your breath. Keep your head up. Place 2 hands on the floor and push your body into a standing position. Wipe your feet clean. Watch out for dust between the toes. Then breathe out and walk. Do it now. Please. Stand up and walk.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So my first question, as it always is why poetry?
Poetry is a tool, of course, to use the gift of language humans have. It provides a channel to assemble language in a way that can express happiness, sadness, grief, and other emotional states humans have.
Yeah.
So, and it also allows to say too much in little, and too little in too many words. So that's what for me makes poetry different.
Great.
Yeah.
So what have been your main influences as a writer?
As a writer and poet, that will be nature and people for me. The main influences for sure, as it is difficult to get what man makes or human makes to be done by nature, or the other way around. Nature also cannot make sometimes what the humans make. I don't know if a tree can make a car. That's not possible, but humans can make a car. And the same way, human cannot make a mountain. They can plant a tree, but not make a tree. So that's why I've got these two influences me, because they are distinct, particular, and different, where that uniqueness in both makes them interesting and always influence me.
Yeah, great. And do you perform your poetry much?
I do, particularly in festivals, events, and perhaps in poetry festivals mainly, where it's happening, where I perform my poetry.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the performing the poetry or reading the poetry. I'm myself confused between the two at the moment.
Okay.
I want to decide for myself whether I'm performing a poem or reading it.
Yeah, okay. And do you have any influences when it comes to the performance side of poetry?
Yeah, if my senses picks up certain things while in the sitting, then that will influence. It depends on the people there, the audience, if there are poets, the number of audience, of course, the space. That's all will influence how I read.
Yeah, so you kind of get a feel for it as you go.
Yeah, I'll get a feel for it as I go, and perhaps it will connect to your the one before last question, where it will decide whether it's going to be more like performance-like or more like a reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And on that note, should we have another poem, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The brain. Sometimes it chews itself into a walnut or a fig full of seeds when halved. Other times, it's a poet searching for a word sharp as an Arabian sword.
Thank you. So I've read your collection, Don't Forget the Couscous, and it seems that much of your poetry is influenced quite heavily by your Middle Eastern identity, and your use of imagery and iconography around this is very strong, and very beautifully written as well. So I was just wondering if that is simply to communicate a sense of what your home is like, or whether there are different intentions behind that.
That's probably the most interesting question so far, and well, they were all interesting, but
The least fake.
that's yeah. The perhaps to comment first on the expression of Middle Eastern identity. For me, it becomes boring thing when its identity or the concept of identity sticks to a singular column and they cling to it tightly. Whereas equally it becomes a point of positive curiosity and interest when one applies the multiplicity to it. For example, if someone writes in the morning, then goes to yoga class, then eats kebab, then meets an Arab friends for shisha before goes back home to English girlfriend or English wife, that will open much wider kind of an ocean of curiosities, rather than just being with a certain identity. That said, I think references in my poetry to that Middle Eastern identity you mentioned signals my failing to to explore that multiplicity, which I'm working on at the moment. It wouldn't be as reference to home as such, or there's references to home with these iconographies, as you call it. That's, I think, a wonderful word. But more to offer a lens into the cultural background I come from. That's more so the use of these references.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're from Syria, aren't you?
Yes, I'm a Syrian-Kurd.
Syrian-Kurd, okay.
Yes.
So do you find, I mean, how long have you been in London for now?
London, I've moved to London in December.
Okay.
December last year, 2015. Yeah.
So have you found that those influences we were speaking about and the images and iconography, has that become apparent in your poetry more since you've been away from there, or has it always been a factor in your writing?
It has become more, of course, when I am away from there. Nostalgia and always the past experiences for a poet or person, they will always play a part in life. So they have become a more since I left the place. Yeah.
Okay. So we've already mentioned your collection. Could you maybe tell us a bit more about what else you've got going on at the moment in terms of projects and work?
At the moment, I'm working on an autobiographical novel or narrative with the name From Aleppo Without Love, as in with a novel from Russia without love, from Russia with love. It is the project, of course, that speaks of childhood experiences, and it centers around the 1980s, 1990s Aleppo in northern Syria, and up until my departure from Syria, which is in 1997 or 1998, around that time. It runs several themes, as in anti-patriarchy in the Arab world, pro-feminism. That's mainly my main concern at the moment, that work. Almost my entire attention is around it. And apart from that, I've got a few festivals, perhaps they're coming up, but Teesside, T-Junction Festival in the northeast, Bradford Literary Festival, and Ledbury Poetry Festival, Literary Festival. Yes, so that's what's going on at the moment.
Great. So maybe we could have our third and final poem.
Yeah, sure. Dream. You are in a beautiful place. Dusk strikes. The grass quakes beneath your feet. In the distance a gazelle gazes. The trees roar with winds. Branches clap and leaves swing right, left and center to embrace the muddy soil. The dark mountain has a snowy peak, as if a bottle of milk was spilled on a black table. Everything in this vision must stay this way. The phone rings, the dream ends. Never mind, tonight you'll fall asleep again and go back there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I was just wondering if you have any recommendations for our listeners to go and check out, and it doesn't necessarily have to be poetry. It could be some other kind of literature or theatre, anything that you've seen recently that you found to be interesting.
Yeah. I think people can read whatever they like, of course. The very thought to tell people what to read is a good enough reminder, and thankfully that we are in a country that offers freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and we are free to read whatever.
Of course.
But having said that, the beautiful way the Lebanese philosopher and painter and artist Gibran Khalil Gibran knitted words in his work, The Prophet, perhaps is a wonderful work to look at. So Khalil Gibran book, The Prophet, is an interesting one. Yeah.
Great. Is that one that you've read recently, or?
I've looked at recently,
Okay.
and I've read before, and he had such a great gift of to dilute big ideas into see-through glass of water for people to drink, and Gibran does that.
Right. That's a lovely way of putting it. That's great. So finally, where can people find out more about your work, aside from attending all the festivals that you'll be reading at this year?
I'm active on social media,
Okay.
Facebook and Twitter, so I often tweet where my work is being published, or what will be published next, and where I'll be attending to read. So my Facebook is Amir Darwish, and Twitter account is Darwish_Amir.
Great. So as usual, we'll put those links underneath the video on the YouTube link. So
Thank you.
I think that's it. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. Lovely
Thanks.
to talk to you. And thanks everyone for listening. Bye bye.